The influence of habits on our daily lives is staggering. Research suggests that between 40% to 50% of our actions on any given day are habitual. However, this statistic, impressive as it is, actually understates the true impact of habits on our behavior. Habits don't just account for a large portion of our actions. They also shape the conscious decisions that follow them. Think of habits as the on-ramps to a highway. Once you've merged onto that road, your direction and speed are largely determined. In the same way, our habits often set us on a path that influences our subsequent choices and actions. This is why we might find ourselves sitting through a movie we're not enjoying, continuing to snack well past the point of fullness, or losing track of time on our smartphones. The initial habitual action, turning on the TV, reaching for a snack, or picking up the phone, creates a momentum that's difficult to resist. This cascading effect of habit highlights their true power. While a single habit might only take a few seconds to perform, its influence can extend far beyond that brief moment. A morning habit of meditation, for instance, might only take 10 minutes, but it can set the tone for a calmer, more focused day. Conversely, a habit of checking social media first thing in the morning might lead to hours of distraction and reduced productivity. Understanding this principle allows us to leverage the power of habits to our advantage. By carefully choosing and cultivating positive habits, we can create a domino effect of beneficial behaviors throughout our day. This is where the concept of decisive moments comes into play. Decisive moments are those brief instances where we make choices that have an outsized impact on the course of our day. These are the forks in the road, the points where we decide between actions that align with our goals and those that don't. It's the moment when we choose between cooking a healthy meal or ordering takeout, going for a run or watching another episode of our favorite show, starting our work or procrastinating for just 5 more minutes. These moments might seem small and insignificant in isolation, but they stack up over the course of a day, week, month, and year to create vastly different outcomes. A single decision to go to the gym might not make much difference, but when that decision is made consistently over months and years, the cumulative effect is transformative. The power of these decisive moments lies in their ability to set us on different paths. Once we've made the initial choice, to put on our running shoes, to open our textbook, to start preparing a healthy meal, the subsequent actions become much easier. It's as if we've created a groove for our behavior to follow, and staying in that groove requires less effort than veering off course. This insight provides us with a powerful strategy for behavior change. Instead of trying to overhaul our entire day at once, we can focus on identifying and optimizing these decisive moments. By creating habits that make the right choice the easy choice at these critical junctures, we can dramatically improve our odds of following through on our intentions. Environmental design, shaping behavior through surroundings. One effective way to do this is through environmental design. By structuring our surroundings to support our desired habits, we can reduce the friction associated with positive behaviors and increase the friction associated with negative ones. This approach recognizes that willpower is a finite resource, and that it's far more effective to change our environment than to rely solely on self-control. For instance, if you want to eat healthier, you might prep fruits and vegetables in advance and keep them easily accessible in your refrigerator. This simple act of preparation makes it more likely that you'll reach for these healthy options when you're hungry. Conversely, you might store less healthy snacks in hard-to-reach places or avoid buying them altogether, increasing the effort required to indulge in them. The same principle can be applied to other areas of life. If you want to read more, keep books visible and within easy reach in your living space. If you want to exercise more consistently, lay out your workout clothes the night before. If you want to reduce social media usage, remove the apps from your phone or use website blockers on your computer. These environmental tweaks might seem small, but they can have a profound impact on our behavior. By making the desired action the path of least resistance, we harness our natural tendency to gravitate toward easier options. This strategy aligns our environment with our intentions, making it more likely that we'll follow through on our goals, even when our motivation wavers. The 2-minute rule, making habits unavoidably easy. Another powerful technique for habit formation is the 2-minute rule. This rule suggests that when you're trying to establish a new habit, you should scale it down to an action that takes 2 minutes or less to complete. The idea is to make the habit so easy that you can't say no to it. For example, if your goal is to read more, your 2-minute habit might be to read 1 page each day. If you want to start journaling, commit to writing for just 2 minutes. If you're trying to establish a meditation habit, begin with just 2 minutes of mindful breathing. The beauty of this approach is twofold. 1. It makes the habit so easy that you're likely to follow through even on days when you're tired or unmotivated. 2. It gets you over the often challenging hurdle of simply starting. Once you've begun the activity, you'll often find that you continue beyond the 2-minute mark. This strategy recognizes that consistency is more important than intensity when it comes to habit formation. It's better to meditate for 2 minutes every day than to do an hour-long session once a week. The regular repetition of the behavior, no matter how small, helps solidify the neural pathways associated with the habit, making it increasingly automatic over time. Moreover, the 2-minute rule allows for gradual progression. As the initial 2-minute action becomes habitual, you can slowly expand the duration or complexity of the habit. What starts as 2 minutes of reading might grow into 30 minutes or an hour. A 2-minute journaling habit might evolve into a rich daily writing practice. The key is to focus on establishing the habit loop, the cue, the routine, and the reward, rather than on achieving a particular outcome. By making the habit easy to start and consistently repeatable, you create a foundation upon which more substantial behavior change can be built. Breaking bad habits, increasing friction. It's also worth noting that the inverse of this principle can be used to break undesirable habits. If you want to reduce a negative behavior, you can increase the friction associated with it. For instance, if you find yourself watching too much television, you might unplug the TV after each use and store the remote in a drawer. If you want to cut back on junk food, stop keeping it in the house. This small increase in effort can be enough to break the automatic nature of the habit and give you a moment to reconsider your choice. Ultimately, the goal is to create an environment and a set of habits that make positive behaviors easy and negative behaviors difficult. This approach recognizes that our willpower is limited and that sustained behavior change is more likely to come from changing our surroundings than from sheer force of will. The success of flavored toothpaste follows a similar pattern. Manufacturers saw great success when they added flavors like spearmint, peppermint, and cinnamon to their products. These flavors don't actually improve the effectiveness of toothpaste in cleaning teeth. Instead, they create a clean mouthfeel and make the experience of brushing teeth more pleasurable. This added satisfaction makes people more likely to maintain the habit of regular toothbrushing. These examples illustrate a fundamental truth about human behavior. What is rewarded is repeated, and what is punished is avoided. We learn what to do in the future based on what we were rewarded for or punished for in the past. Positive emotions cultivate habits, while negative emotions tend to destroy them. However, there's a crucial aspect to this principle that's easy to overlook. When we talk about making behavior satisfying, we're not looking for just any type of satisfaction. We're specifically seeking immediate satisfaction. This is where we encounter a significant challenge in modern society: the mismatch between immediate and delayed rewards. To understand this mismatch, it's helpful to consider the environment in which the human brain evolved. For most of our species' history, we lived in what scientists call an immediate return environment. Imagine being an animal roaming the plains of Africa. Your decisions typically have an immediate impact. You're constantly focused on immediate concerns like finding food, avoiding predators, or seeking shelter. Your actions deliver clear and immediate outcomes. In contrast, modern society often operates in what's called a delayed return environment. Many of the choices we make today won't benefit us immediately. If we do a good job at work, we might get a paycheck in a few weeks. If we exercise today, we might see health benefits months or years down the line. If we save money now, it might secure our retirement decades in the future. This shift to a delayed return environment is relatively recent in human history, primarily occurring in the last 500 years or so, compared to the age of the human brain, which has remained largely unchanged for about 200,000 years. Modern society is brand new. Our brains evolved in an environment where immediate rewards were crucial for survival, and we still carry that hardware with us today. This mismatch between our brain's preference for immediate rewards and the delayed nature of many modern benefits creates significant challenges. It's one reason why we often struggle with behaviors that have long-term benefits but little immediate payoff. Saving for retirement, maintaining a healthy diet, or studying for future exams all require us to override our innate preference for immediate gratification. Understanding this mismatch is crucial for anyone trying to change their behavior or habits. It explains why it's often so difficult to maintain motivation for long-term goals and why we're easily swayed by short-term pleasures, even when we know they might not be in our best interest. Bridging the gap between immediate and delayed rewards. So how can we bridge this gap between our brain's desire for immediate satisfaction and the often delayed rewards of beneficial behaviors? One effective strategy is to find ways to add immediate positive feedback to otherwise unrewarding tasks. For instance, if you're trying to establish a habit of daily exercise, you might pair your workout with listening to your favorite podcast or audiobook. This way, even on days when you don't feel particularly motivated to exercise, you have the immediate reward of enjoying engaging content. Similarly, if you're trying to eat healthier, you might focus on finding nutritious recipes that are also delicious, providing immediate taste satisfaction alongside long-term health benefits. Another approach is to use a habit tracker or similar tool to provide immediate visual feedback on your progress. The simple act of marking off a day on a calendar or seeing a streak of successful days can provide a small but meaningful sense of accomplishment, helping to bridge the gap until the long-term benefits of your habit become apparent. It's also worth noting that while our brains may be wired for immediate gratification, we humans have a unique capacity for long-term thinking and planning. By consciously cultivating an appreciation for delayed rewards and regularly reminding ourselves of our long-term goals, we can gradually shift our perspective and find more satisfaction in behaviors that contribute to those goals. Conclusion: the role of immediate satisfaction in lasting change. In conclusion, the story of the hand-washing initiative in Pakistan and the broader principles it illustrates offer valuable insights into human behavior and habit formation. By understanding the power of immediate satisfaction and the challenges posed by our delayed return environment, we can design more effective strategies for personal growth and societal change. Whether we're trying to improve public health, encourage better financial habits, or simply stick to our New Year's resolutions, making behaviors more immediately satisfying can be a powerful tool for positive change. As we navigate the complexities of modern life with our Stone Age brains, being aware of these principles can help us make better choices, form lasting habits, and bridge the gap between our actions today and our goals for tomorrow. By aligning our behaviors with both our long-term aspirations and our innate need for immediate satisfaction, we can create meaningful, sustainable changes in our lives and in our world. The challenge of time inconsistency. In our quest for self-improvement and personal growth, we often find ourselves grappling with a peculiar challenge: the disconnect between our long-term aspirations and our short-term actions. This phenomenon, known as time inconsistency, is a fundamental aspect of human behavior with far-reaching implications for our daily lives and long-term success. At its core, time inconsistency refers to our brain's tendency to value immediate rewards more highly than future benefits. This bias toward instant gratification is deeply ingrained in our neural circuitry, a remnant of our evolutionary past, when immediate survival took precedence over long-term planning. In most situations, this inclination serves us well. After all, a reward that's certain and available right now is typically more valuable than one that's merely possible in the future. However, this same tendency can sometimes lead us astray, particularly in the modern world, where many of our most important goals require sustained effort and delayed gratification. This misalignment between our immediate desires and our long-term objectives is at the heart of many of our struggles with habit formation and behavior change. Consider, for instance, the paradox of harmful behaviors like smoking, overeating, or engaging in unsafe sex. Most people are well aware of the potential long-term consequences of these actions. We know that smoking increases the risk of lung cancer, that overeating can lead to obesity and associated health problems, and that unsafe sex can result in sexually transmitted diseases. Yet, despite this knowledge, many individuals continue to engage in these behaviors. The reason for this apparent contradiction becomes clear when we understand how our brain prioritizes rewards. The consequences of these harmful habits are often delayed, sometimes by years or even decades. In contrast, the rewards are immediate and tangible. Smoking might increase your risk of cancer in the future, but it reduces stress and satisfies nicotine cravings now. Overeating may lead to health problems down the line, but it provides immediate pleasure and satiation. Unsafe sex might result in disease later, but it offers instant gratification. This pattern isn't limited to harmful habits. In fact, it's a characteristic of virtually all habits, both good and bad. Every habit produces multiple outcomes across time, but these outcomes are often misaligned. With detrimental habits, the immediate outcome is usually pleasurable, while the ultimate outcome is negative. Conversely, with beneficial habits, the immediate experience is often unenjoyable, but the long-term results are positive. Take exercise, for example. The immediate experience of working out can be uncomfortable, even painful. Your muscles ache, you're out of breath, and you might prefer to be relaxing on the couch. However, the long-term benefits of regular exercise, improved health, increased energy, better mood, are substantial. The challenge lies in overcoming the immediate discomfort to reap these future rewards. This misalignment of outcomes across time creates a significant hurdle for behavior change. When we make plans to improve ourselves, whether it's losing weight, writing a book, or learning a new language, we're essentially making plans for our future selves. In these moments of planning, it's easy to see the value in actions that offer long-term benefits. We all want better lives for our future selves, after all. However, when the moment of decision arrives, we're no longer choosing for that idealized future self. Instead, we're choosing for our present self, who craves comfort, pleasure, and immediate satisfaction. This is why relying solely on good intentions is rarely effective for long-term behavior change. The brain's bias toward the present moment is simply too strong. Understanding this tendency can help explain many of the seemingly irrational choices we make in our daily lives. It's why we might choose to watch TV instead of studying, even though we know studying will lead to better grades. It's why we might grab fast food instead of cooking a healthy meal, even though we're trying to eat better. In each of these moments, the allure of immediate gratification overpowers our longer-term goals. This preference for instant gratification reveals an important truth about success. Most people spend their days chasing quick hits of satisfaction. The path less traveled is the road of delayed gratification. If you're willing to wait for rewards, you'll often face less competition and potentially reap greater benefits. As the saying goes, the last mile is always the least crowded. Research consistently supports this idea. Studies have shown that individuals who are better at delaying gratification tend to have higher SAT scores, lower levels of substance abuse, a lower likelihood of obesity, better responses to stress, and superior social skills. We've all observed this play out in our own lives. The student who resists the temptation to procrastinate and completes their assignments on time generally achieves better grades. The individual who forgoes purchasing junk food at the grocery store often maintains a healthier diet at home. At some point, success in nearly every field requires the ability to ignore an immediate reward in favor of a delayed, but ultimately more significant reward. This is true whether you're an athlete training for a competition, an entrepreneur building a business, or a writer working on a novel. The ability to delay gratification is a crucial skill for achieving long-term success. However, it's important to note that while delaying gratification is often the wise approach, it's not always easy or intuitive. Our brains are not naturally wired for long-term thinking, and constantly fighting against our instincts for immediate reward can be exhausting and unsustainable. Strategies for aligning immediate and long-term rewards. So how can we work with our brain's tendencies, rather than against them? The key lies in finding ways to make delayed gratification more appealing and immediate. Here are some strategies that can help. 1. Add immediate pleasure to long-term beneficial habits. Find ways to make habits with delayed rewards more immediately enjoyable. If you're trying to exercise more, pair your workout with listening to your favorite podcast or audiobook. This way, you get an immediate reward enjoying the content, along with the long-term benefits of exercise. 2. Add immediate consequences to harmful habits. Similarly, try to associate immediate, small negative consequences with habits you're trying to break. If you're trying to cut back on social media use, for example, you could commit to doing 10 push-ups every time you catch yourself mindlessly scrolling. 3. Use visual cues and tracking. Our brains respond well to visual feedback. Use habit trackers or charts to give yourself an immediate sense of accomplishment when you stick to a good habit. The satisfaction of marking off a day on a calendar can be a powerful motivator. 4. Create artificial milestones. Break long-term goals into smaller, more immediate targets. If you're saving for a big purchase, celebrate hitting smaller savings milestones along the way. 5. Practice mindfulness and visualization. Regularly take time to vividly imagine the long-term benefits of your good habits. This can help make those future rewards feel more real and immediate. 6. Use commitment devices. These are strategies where you make it more difficult or costly to engage in bad habits. For example, you might give a friend money to hold and only have it returned if you meet your goal. Reframe the immediate experience. Instead of focusing on the discomfort of a challenging habit, try to find aspects of the immediate experience to appreciate. For example, instead of dwelling on the physical strain of exercise, focus on the sense of accomplishment or the endorphin rush. Create a reward system. Set up a system where you give yourself small, immediate rewards for sticking to your long-term habits. These rewards don't have to be large or costly. The key is that they're immediate and consistently applied. One particularly effective strategy is to turn instant gratification to your advantage by using a technique called reinforcement. This involves providing yourself with an immediate reward for completing a desired behavior. The key here is to make the reward instant and directly tied to the habit you're trying to build. For example, if you're trying to build a habit of daily meditation, you might reward yourself with a small piece of dark chocolate immediately after each session. The taste of the chocolate becomes an immediate positive reinforcement for your meditation practice. Over time, your brain begins to associate meditation with this pleasant reward, making it easier to stick to the habit. This approach can be especially helpful when dealing with habits of avoidance, behaviors you want to stop doing. It can be challenging to feel satisfied when you're simply not doing something, like not buying unnecessary items or not drinking alcohol. In these cases, you can create a system that makes the avoidance visible and rewarding. For instance, you could open a savings account labeled for something you want, like a dream vacation or a new guitar. Every time you successfully avoid a temptation, say not buying that unnecessary gadget or skipping that expensive night out, you transfer the money you would have spent into this account. This way, you're turning the act of not doing something into a positive, visible action. You're essentially creating a loyalty program for yourself, where your points accumulate towards something you genuinely want. This strategy not only provides immediate satisfaction but also helps reframe the experience of avoiding temptation. Instead of feeling deprived, you feel like you're actively working toward a goal. The immediate reward of seeing your savings grow feels much better than the nebulous sense of having resisted a temptation. It's worth noting that while these strategies can be highly effective, they're not magic bullets. Changing ingrained habits and overcoming our natural bias toward immediate gratification is a challenging process that requires patience, persistence, and self-compassion. It's normal to struggle and occasionally give in to temptation. The key is to view these moments not as failures but as opportunities to learn and adjust your approach. Moreover, it's crucial to remember that delayed gratification isn't always the right choice. Sometimes, immediate experiences are valuable in their own right. The key is to find a balance that aligns with your values and long-term goals while still allowing for present enjoyment. In conclusion, understanding the concept of time inconsistency and our brain's bias toward immediate rewards can be a powerful tool in our quest for personal growth and habit formation. By acknowledging this aspect of our nature, we can design strategies that work with our brain's tendencies rather than against them. Whether it's adding immediate pleasures to beneficial habits, creating visible rewards for avoidance behaviors, or using reinforcement techniques, these approaches can help bridge the gap between our present actions and our future aspirations. Ultimately, the ability to delay gratification and work toward long-term goals is a skill that can be developed and strengthened over time. It's a journey of self-discovery and continuous improvement, one that requires patience, creativity, and a deep understanding of our own motivations and tendencies. By mastering this skill, we open ourselves up to greater achievements, deeper satisfaction, and a life more closely aligned with our true values and aspirations. The path may not always be easy, but the rewards, both immediate and long-term, make it a journey worth undertaking. The psychology of habit formation. In the pursuit of personal growth and self-improvement, we often find ourselves grappling with the challenge of maintaining good habits. We start with enthusiasm, determined to make positive changes in our lives. But as time passes, our resolve can waver. The key to lasting change, it turns out, lies not just in willpower or motivation, but in the way we approach habit formation itself. By understanding the psychology behind habit formation and employing strategic techniques, we can dramatically increase our chances of success. One of the most powerful tools in this journey is the concept of making habits satisfying. This idea is rooted in the fundamental principle that we are more likely to repeat behaviors that provide immediate rewards. Our brains are wired to seek pleasure and avoid pain, and this instinct plays a crucial role in shaping our habits. However, there's a catch. Many of the habits we want to cultivate, like exercising regularly, eating healthily, or saving money, don't provide immediate gratification. Their benefits are often delayed, sometimes by months or even years. This delay can make it challenging to stick with these habits, especially when we're faced with more immediately rewarding alternatives. To overcome this challenge, we need to find ways to make our desired habits more immediately satisfying. This doesn't mean compromising on our long-term goals, but rather finding ways to bridge the gap between the present action and the future reward. One effective strategy is to create a system of short-term rewards that align with your long-term goals. For instance, if you're trying to exercise more, you might reward yourself with a relaxing bath or an episode of your favorite show after each workout. The key is to choose rewards that reinforce your desired identity rather than conflicting with it. If your goal is to improve your health, rewarding yourself with unhealthy food after exercising would be counterproductive. Instead, choose rewards that align with your vision of becoming a healthier person. This approach of aligning short-term rewards with long-term goals can be applied to virtually any habit you're trying to build. If you're aiming to read more, you might allow yourself to buy a new book only after finishing your current one. If you're trying to save money, you could allocate a small portion of your savings to a fund that you can spend guilt-free once you reach certain milestones. The power of this strategy lies in its ability to tap into our brain's reward system. By providing immediate positive reinforcement, we're training our brains to associate the habit with pleasure. Over time, this association can make the habit itself more enjoyable, reducing our reliance on external rewards. Visual tracking systems, the paperclip strategy. Another powerful technique for making habits stick is the use of visual tracking systems. This approach, sometimes called the paperclip strategy, involves creating a tangible representation of your progress. The name comes from a story about a young stockbroker who used 2 jars of paperclips to track his daily sales calls. Each time he made a call, he would move a paperclip from one jar to another. This simple act provided a clear visual measure of his progress, which proved to be incredibly motivating. The beauty of this strategy lies in its simplicity and flexibility. You can adapt it to virtually any habit you're trying to build. For example, if you're trying to write a book, you might move a marble from one jar to another for each page you complete. If you're aiming to increase your daily step count, you could use a similar system to track your progress. These visual tracking systems work on multiple levels. First, they provide immediate satisfaction. The act of moving a paperclip or marking an X on a calendar gives you a small sense of accomplishment, which can be particularly motivating on days when you might not feel like sticking to your habit. Second, they make your progress visible. On days when you're feeling discouraged, you can look at your tracker and see how far you've come, which can provide the motivation to keep going. Perhaps the most comprehensive form of visual tracking is the habit tracker. This tool, which can be as simple as a calendar where you mark off each day you complete your habit, has been used by many successful individuals throughout history. Benjamin Franklin famously used a small booklet to track 13 personal virtues, while comedian Jerry Seinfeld is known for his "don't break the chain" approach to writing jokes every day. Habit tracking is powerful because it leverages multiple principles of behavior change simultaneously. It makes the habit obvious by providing a visual cue. It makes it attractive by showcasing your progress. It makes it satisfying by giving you a sense of accomplishment each time you mark off a day. Moreover, habit tracking keeps you honest. Many of us have a tendency to overestimate how consistently we perform our habits. By keeping a record, we're forced to confront the reality of our behavior, and this awareness alone can be a powerful motivator for change. The pitfalls of tracking and how to avoid them. While tracking can be a powerful tool, it's not without potential pitfalls. One risk is becoming too focused on the act of tracking itself rather than the underlying behavior you're trying to change. Remember, the tracker is a tool to support your habit, not the goal itself. Another potential issue is the risk of breaking the chain. Missing a day on your tracker can be discouraging, and some people might be tempted to give up entirely after a slip-up. It's crucial to remember that consistency matters more than perfection. If you miss a day, simply pick up where you left off. The goal is progress, not perfection. From external rewards to intrinsic motivation. As you continue with your habit, you may find that the external rewards and tracking systems become less necessary. This is a natural and positive progression. Over time, the habit itself can become intrinsically rewarding. For example, someone who starts exercising for weight loss might initially need external motivators, but over time, they may come to enjoy the energy boost and sense of accomplishment that comes with each workout. This shift from extrinsic to intrinsic motivation is a sign that the habit is becoming ingrained in your identity. When you reach this point, you're no longer just someone trying to exercise more. You've become someone who exercises regularly. This identity-based approach to habit formation can be incredibly powerful and sustainable. However, reaching this point takes time and consistency. In the meantime, don't hesitate to use whatever tools and strategies help you maintain your habit. Whether it's a paperclip system, a habit tracker, or carefully chosen rewards. These techniques can provide the bridge you need to get from where you are to where you want to be, making the habit enjoyable. It's also worth considering how you can make the habit itself more enjoyable. This might involve finding ways to make the process more pleasant or combining the habit with activities you already enjoy. For instance, if you're trying to establish a running habit, you might listen to your favorite podcasts or audiobooks while you run. If you're aiming to cook more healthy meals at home, you could turn cooking into a social activity by inviting friends over or taking a cooking class. Remember, the goal is to create a positive feedback loop where the habit reinforces itself. By making the habit satisfying in the short term, you increase the likelihood that you'll stick with it long enough to reap the long-term benefits. Final thoughts. As you embark on your journey of habit formation, it's important to be patient with yourself. Changing ingrained behaviors takes time, and setbacks are a normal part of the process. Each day is an opportunity to reinforce your desired identity and move closer to your goals. Moreover, don't underestimate the power of small wins. Consistently performing a small habit can lead to significant changes over time. Whether you're moving paperclips, marking X's on a calendar, or using a more sophisticated tracking system, each small action is a vote for the person you want to become. In conclusion, the key to sticking with good habits lies in making them satisfying. By providing immediate rewards, using visual tracking systems, and gradually shifting toward intrinsic motivation, we can bridge the gap between our present actions and our future goals. Remember, the most effective form of motivation is progress. By making your progress visible and rewarding, you create a positive feedback loop that can sustain your habits over the long term. As you apply these strategies, you may find that building good habits becomes not just easier but enjoyable, and that, perhaps, is the greatest satisfaction of all. The realization that you're not just doing things differently, but becoming the person you aspire to be. The power of habit tracking. Start small, track your progress, celebrate your wins, and watch as your habits transform not just your actions but your identity. In the quest for personal growth and self-improvement, we often find ourselves grappling with the challenge of maintaining good habits. While starting a new habit can be exciting, the real test lies in consistently following through day after day, week after week. This is where the power of habit tracking comes into play, offering a simple yet effective tool to reinforce positive behaviors and keep us on track toward our goals. Habit tracking, at its core, is about making progress visible. It's a way of creating a tangible record of our efforts, transforming abstract goals into concrete actions. This visibility serves multiple purposes, each contributing to the overall effectiveness of the habit-building process. First and foremost, tracking creates a visual cue that reminds us to act. In our busy lives, it's easy to forget or postpone the habits we're trying to build. A habit tracker, whether it's a simple calendar with X's marking completed days or a more elaborate system, serves as a constant reminder of our commitments. It's a gentle nudge, prompting us to take action when we might otherwise let things slide. But the power of habit tracking goes beyond mere reminders. It taps into our innate desire for progress and achievement. As we mark off each successful instance of our habit, we create a streak. This streak becomes a source of motivation in itself. We see the progress we're making, and we don't want to break the chain. This phenomenon, sometimes called the don't break the chain method, has been used by successful individuals across various fields, from comedians to writers to athletes. The satisfaction of recording our progress is another key benefit of habit tracking. There's a small but significant sense of accomplishment that comes from crossing an item off a to-do list or marking an X on a calendar. This feeling of satisfaction is immediate and tangible, providing a quick hit of dopamine that reinforces the behavior. In essence, the act of tracking becomes its own reward, making the habit more likely to stick. Moreover, habit tracking shifts our focus from the end result to the process itself. When we're trying to build a new habit, it's easy to get discouraged if we don't see immediate results. For instance, if you're trying to lose weight, you might get frustrated if the number on the scale doesn't change as quickly as you'd like. But by tracking your workouts or healthy meals, you're focusing on what you can control, your daily actions, rather than the outcome, which can be influenced by many factors beyond your control. This focus on process over outcome is crucial for long-term success. It helps us build a new identity, casting votes for the type of person we want to become with each action we take. Every time we mark off a completed habit, we're not just recording an action, we're reinforcing a belief about ourselves. We're saying, I'm the type of person who doesn't miss workouts, or I'm a writer who writes every day. Over time, these small actions and the beliefs they reinforce can lead to significant changes in our self-image and, consequently, our behavior. Despite these benefits, many people resist the idea of habit tracking. It can feel like an additional burden, adding another task to our already busy lives. Some worry that it will take too much time or that they'll forget to do it. Others may feel that it's unnecessary, that they should be able to remember to do the habit without needing to track it. These concerns are valid, but they often overlook the long-term benefits of tracking in favor of short-term convenience. While it's true that tracking requires some effort, this investment of time and energy can pay significant dividends in terms of habit adherence and personal growth. That said, it's important to approach habit tracking in a way that works for you. If the idea of manually recording every instance of a habit feels overwhelming, look for ways to automate the process. Many of us are already tracking various aspects of our lives without realizing it. Credit card statements track our spending habits, fitness trackers record our physical activity, and calendar apps log our appointments and commitments. By leveraging these existing data sources and setting up regular review periods, we can gain insights into our behavior without adding much additional work. For habits that do require manual tracking, it's often best to focus on just one or two key behaviors rather than trying to track everything at once. Choose the habits that are most important to you or that you're struggling with the most. By limiting your focus, you increase the likelihood of consistent tracking. Another key to successful habit tracking is to record each instance of the habit immediately after it occurs. This approach, combined with habit stacking, linking a new habit to an existing one, can make tracking feel more natural and less of a chore. For example, you might decide to record your workout immediately after putting away your gym bag or log your meditation session right after turning off your meditation app. While consistent tracking can be incredibly powerful, it's important to remember that perfection is not the goal. Life is unpredictable, and there will inevitably be times when our habits get disrupted. The key is not to let these disruptions derail you completely. One powerful principle to keep in mind is never miss twice. If you slip up and miss a day, the most important thing is to get back on track as quickly as possible. Missing once is an accident. Missing twice is the start of a new habit. By recommitting to the habit immediately after a slip-up, you prevent a temporary setback from turning into a permanent abandonment of your goals. This principle of quick recovery is a distinguishing feature of successful individuals across various fields. Everyone has bad days or periods of lower performance. What sets high achievers apart is their ability to rebound quickly from these setbacks. They understand that the occasional bad day or missed habit is far less important than the overall trend of their behavior. In fact, showing up on the days when you don't feel like it or can't perform at your best can be even more important than the days when everything goes smoothly. These bad days maintain the compound gains you've accrued from previous good days. Even if you can't do the habit as thoroughly or effectively as you'd like, doing something is always better than doing nothing. It's about maintaining momentum and reinforcing your identity as someone who follows through on their commitments. This approach also helps avoid the all-or-nothing mindset that can be so detrimental to habit formation. Too often, people fall into the trap of thinking that if they can't do something perfectly, they shouldn't do it at all. This black-and-white thinking can lead to giving up entirely after a small setback. By embracing the idea that something is always better than nothing, we can maintain consistency even when circumstances aren't ideal. While habit tracking can be a powerful tool, it's important to ensure we're tracking the right things. Sometimes, the most obvious or easiest to measure metrics aren't necessarily the most meaningful. For example, if you're trying to improve your diet, simply tracking calories might not give you the full picture. You might be hitting your calorie goals but not getting proper nutrition. In this case, tracking the number of whole, unprocessed foods you eat each day might be more beneficial. Similarly, if you're trying to improve your productivity at work, tracking hours worked might not be as useful as tracking the number of important tasks completed. The key is to choose metrics that truly align with your goals and provide meaningful feedback on your progress. It's also worth noting that not all habits need to be tracked indefinitely. Sometimes, tracking is most useful in the early stages of habit formation, when we're still establishing the behavior. Once the habit becomes more ingrained, we might be able to ease off on tracking without losing the habit itself. The goal, ultimately, is for the behavior to become so automatic that we no longer need external reinforcement to maintain it. In conclusion, habit tracking is a powerful tool in the quest for personal growth and behavior change. By making our progress visible, providing immediate satisfaction, and shifting our focus to the process rather than just the outcome, tracking can significantly increase our chances of successfully building new habits. However, like any tool, its effectiveness depends on how we use it. By choosing meaningful metrics, focusing on consistency rather than perfection, and using tracking as a means to reinforce our desired identity, we can harness the full potential of this approach. Remember, the goal isn't just to check boxes or create perfect streaks. It's to gradually shape ourselves into the person we want to become. Each tracked instance of a habit is a vote for that future self. Over time, these small votes can lead to profound changes in our behavior, our self-image, and ultimately, our lives. So whether you're trying to exercise more, eat healthier, write daily, or adopt any other positive habit, consider incorporating tracking into your approach. Start small, be consistent, and don't be discouraged by occasional setbacks. With patience and persistence, you may find that the simple act of tracking your habits becomes a transformative force in your journey of self-improvement. The power of habits in shaping our lives. Sometimes, focusing too much on avoiding negative outcomes can create anxiety or stress that's counterproductive to your goals. It's important to monitor your emotional state and adjust your approach if you find that the fear of consequences is becoming overwhelming. Additionally, while immediate consequences can be powerful motivators, they shouldn't completely replace an understanding of the long-term impacts of our actions. Ideally, the immediate consequences we create for ourselves should serve as reminders or proxies for the more distant effects we're trying to avoid or achieve. It's also worth noting that different people respond differently to various types of motivation. While some individuals might find the threat of immediate negative consequences highly motivating, others might respond better to positive reinforcement or intrinsic motivation. It's important to know yourself and what works best for you. In some cases, combining immediate consequences with positive reinforcement can be particularly effective. For instance, you might set up a system where you face a small penalty for missing a workout but also reward yourself for completing a full week of exercise. This balanced approach can help create a more sustainable and enjoyable path to habit formation. When implementing this strategy, it can be helpful to start small. Begin with minor habits and relatively mild consequences. As you become more comfortable with the process and start seeing results, you can gradually increase the stakes for more significant habits. Remember, the ultimate goal is not to live in constant fear of punishment, but to use this tool as a stepping stone toward intrinsic motivation. Over time, as habits become more ingrained and the benefits become more apparent, the need for external consequences should diminish. It's also important to be compassionate with yourself. Everyone slips up sometimes, and the occasional failure doesn't negate all your progress. The purpose of immediate consequences is to provide feedback and motivation, not to punish yourself excessively. Conclusion: while making good habits attractive and satisfying is crucial, we shouldn't overlook the power of making bad habits immediately unsatisfying. By bringing the consequences of our actions into the present moment, we can create a powerful impetus for change. Whether through habit contracts, accountability partners, or other creative methods, finding ways to make the cost of bad habits immediate and tangible can be a game changer in our pursuit of personal growth and positive change. However, this approach should be used thoughtfully and in conjunction with other strategies for habit formation. The goal is not to create a life ruled by fear of consequences, but to use this tool as a stepping stone toward building habits that are intrinsically rewarding and aligned with our long-term goals. By understanding and leveraging the power of immediate consequences, we can create an environment that supports our desired behaviors and helps us become the people we aspire to be. The power of habits in shaping our lives. The power of habits in shaping our lives cannot be overstated. From the mundane daily routines to life-changing behaviors, habits form the backbone of our existence. One of the most striking examples of habit forming on a societal scale is the adoption of seatbelt usage in the United States. In just a few decades, we witnessed a dramatic shift from a time when most people didn't wear seatbelts to a present where the vast majority of Americans buckle up every time they get in a car. This transformation wasn't just a matter of individual choice. It was largely driven by legislation and the creation of a new social contract. The seatbelt story illustrates how governments can use laws and regulations to influence collective behavior. By mandating seatbelt use and enforcing penalties for non-compliance, states effectively reshaped the habits of millions. This approach leverages the power of social contracts, agreements we make as a society to follow certain rules for the common good. Similar strategies have been employed to address other public health and safety concerns, such as smoking bans in restaurants and mandatory recycling programs. While these large-scale interventions are effective, we can apply similar principles on a personal level to cultivate positive habits or break undesirable ones. Enter the concept of a habit contract, a formalized agreement with yourself and others to hold you accountable for your behavior. This approach recognizes that sometimes willpower alone isn't enough to overcome ingrained patterns or resist temptation. By explicitly stating your commitments and the consequences of failing to meet them, you create a powerful motivational tool. Consider the case of Brian Harris, an entrepreneur who used a habit contract to achieve his health and fitness goals. After the birth of his son, Harris realized he needed to make some changes to his lifestyle. Instead of relying solely on good intentions, he drafted a detailed contract outlining his objectives, the specific actions he would take, and the consequences of non-compliance. Crucially, he involved his wife and personal trainer as accountability partners, having them sign the contract alongside him. Harris's contract was comprehensive, breaking down his overall goal into phases and specifying daily habits like logging his food intake and weighing himself. The consequences for failing to follow through were concrete and meaningful. Having to dress formally for work, a departure from his usual casual attire, and paying his trainer a financial penalty. This level of detail, along with the inclusion of external accountability, proved to be highly effective. As someone who initially viewed such contracts as unnecessarily formal, I've come to appreciate their value. The act of signing a physical document signals a deeper level of commitment than a mere verbal agreement or mental note. It transforms vague intentions into concrete promises, not just to yourself, but to others. This external accountability taps into our innate desire to be seen as reliable and trustworthy by those around us. The power of accountability. The power of accountability extends beyond formal contracts. Simply having someone to check in with regularly can significantly boost our likelihood of sticking to a new habit or breaking an old one. Comedians, writers, and other creatives often use this approach, partnering with colleagues to ensure they produce work consistently. The knowledge that someone is watching and expecting results can be a powerful motivator, helping us overcome procrastination and laziness. In our digital age, we can even automate accountability. Thomas Frank, an entrepreneur, devised an ingenious system to ensure he wakes up early each morning. If he fails to rise by his target time, a pre-scheduled tweet goes out to his followers, offering a small financial reward to the first few people who call him out on his tardiness. This public commitment adds an extra layer of motivation to his morning routine. These strategies work because they tap into fundamental aspects of human psychology. We are social creatures, deeply concerned with how others perceive us. The desire to present our best selves to the world influences many of our behaviors, from personal grooming to academic and professional achievements. By leveraging this innate social awareness, habit contracts and accountability partnerships make the consequences of our actions or inactions immediate and tangible. However, it's important to note that the effectiveness of these strategies can vary from person to person. Some individuals might find the pressure of external accountability motivating, while others might feel overwhelmed or rebellious. The key is to find an approach that resonates with your personality and goals. Moreover, while consequences and accountability are powerful tools, they shouldn't be the only factors driving habit formation. Ideally, we want to cultivate habits that are intrinsically rewarding, where the behavior itself becomes satisfying over time. External motivators can be excellent for jumpstarting change, but long-term success often depends on developing a genuine appreciation for the benefits of the habit itself.